Yeah. So I guess we'll start off by just asking you to introduce yourself. Tell us your name, uh, where you were born, where you live now, your ethnicity, things like that.
Okay, so my name is Magdelene Barjolo. I'm 21 years old. I'm a community activist model, and recent graduate from St. John's University. I was born and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts, but I currently reside in Massachusetts / New York, thanks to Corona. Um, yeah, that's who I am, and I'm also the co-founder of Sending Her Essentials. It's a nonprofit organization that's essentially supplying young girls with the tools that they need to excel in their academic, personal, and professional lives.
Okay, great. So you said one thing that I was actually wondering about. You said that you're in both Massachusetts and New York right now. What's taking you between the two states?
So I also model. So if I'm getting booked for things, I would have to go to New York. Um, and I had an apartment. I was living in Brooklyn, so I was kind of moving back and forth because all of my friends live in New York, and I don't really have friends in my city, so it's kind of difficult. So any reason that I can leave and go to New York, I will take that reason. So
Fantastic. That sounds like a lot of fun, honestly, to be traveling a lot between the two places.
yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, cool. Are there any other social media handles that you wanted to provide, like, your own account and like your various
Yeah.
organizations you're part of?
My Instagram is Magdelene Barj, which is MagdeleneBarj. Sending Her Essentials is Sending Her Essentials, just as it's spelled. On Instagram, we have a Twitter account. It's called She Inc., official She Inc. And I think those are all the social media platforms that I use. You can also check out the Hearing Aid. On Instagram, it's called the Hearing Aids. It's a digital platform that myself and my friend Brenna Lipset created to amplify the voices of marginalized people. So you can definitely check that out.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, since you've kind of been talking about these organizations that you've been part of, so what do you think, what has modeling and being part of Sending Her Essentials, or I guess founding it, what do you think kind of led you to pursue those, forms of activism and like expression and things like that?
I think I've always been an active person. I usually just tell people that I've always been doing things. When I was in high school, I went to predominantly PWI, like a white institution, and though it was diverse, we didn't have that many Black students. I could count the amount of Black students on my hands. And it was kind of isolating in a way, and I've always had to kind of like stick up for myself and advocate for myself. So my activism work kind of started out really young because I had to be my own advocate, because I knew that if I didn't speak up for myself, that there's probably going to be young Black girls or young Black boys going through the same thing, and they need to see that representation of someone speaking up for themselves and advocating for the people that look like them. So that was kind of where I kind of started, amplifying my voice simply in the classroom. And then I've always wanted to model, but because of Eurocentric beauty standards, I never thought that I could. And then entering college, it just kind of like hit me like, yo, you can do this. Like, there's literally nothing. Like, the worst that anyone can ever say is no to you, and you're not going to die. Like, that's okay. And so once I kind of like prepared myself for that, mentally, I just started taking off and started doing my own thing and, advocating for myself in the modeling industry, because I am a petite, dark-skinned model, and there's other struggles that come with that. Like when you're getting makeup done, they don't have shades that match you. Or, modeling agencies will say, oh, we're inclusive and we love all shapes and sizes, but they still discriminate with height. So there's all those things that I had to kind of learn that became a part of me, because that's who I am. And I had to learn how to advocate for myself every single day, because as I walk outside, I'm a Black woman, I'm a model, I'm a petite model, I'm I'm so many different things. So I had to learn how to wear all my identities like proudly and show people that like I'm proud of who I am, and any chance I get to advocate for myself and the people that look like me, I'm going to take that chance. So that's how you get all these beautiful organizations.
Oh my God, that was so powerful. I love that. Thank you. Oh my God, and you are so beautiful. So yes, it makes perfect sense that, and I love that you're able to find your voice and really be able to advocate for yourself. Like that is such an important lesson to teach all of us. So, so yeah, you're talking a lot about, I guess, your identity as sort of like the opposite of what a lot of standards have been set in society about being Black and about being a Black woman, especially because obviously that creates different standards than Black boys, of course. And then even what you're talking about your height and things like that. So, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and what you think it was like being a Black woman who was sometimes, especially in the modeling agency, I guess on that side of things as well, not necessarily accepted for who you are as an individual, even though you definitely should be.
Yeah, I think I learned that I was Black and that I was different at a very young age. I was about 6 years old when I knew what racism was, because I was at recess, and this girl, I still remember her name. I'm not gonna say it, but she told me that she doesn't want to play with me, or that she couldn't play with me because I was Black. And I was so confused. And I just remember like standing there, and it was just like everything kind of went into slow motion. Like it was kind of like an outer body experience for me, because I was like, I don't even know what is. It was like, wow, like you're just, everything is just like different. Like it just felt like my entire world just kind of like changed in a matter of seconds. And I just was like, okay, all right. And then when I told the teacher, and I remember being in the principal's office, and the principal at the time was like really close friends with my mom, because her daughter used to take care of me in daycare. So like that affected her, because it was like, wow, like she's a little girl. Like why is she already experiencing racism at the age of 6? And then that's when I realized, like, dang, like I do look different. I'm not, you know, like the other girls. And I started to notice that even like we had spring musicals, when I would I would I would have my braids done, and I would wait to get like hair and makeup done like the other girls, and like the other parents wouldn't want to like put my hair and my braids into pigtails like the other girls. And I would sit there, and they would just like look at me like I was crazy, and I just didn't know like what I didn't really understand, because I just wanted to feel included, all the other girls are having pigtails and they're adding blush, and I wanted that. And to know that I couldn't have that because I looked different was kind of like, it really hurt my feelings, and it did kind of like hurt my self-esteem, because I can recall those exact moments. And I always tell people like racism and traumatic events like that, because experiencing racism is a very traumatic experience for Black people. And you can remember your first time. You would remember your first time that you ever felt racially discriminated towards, and I can recall every single moment. So those were just some moments that have affected me in my childhood, that I can still recall in my adulthood, that still affect me. Because even now, when I wear certain outfits, I'm like, dang, like, is my skin color too dark? Or if I wear certain lipstick shades, are my lips too big? Things like that. So it's just simple things like that, that's perpetuated in the media. And even now, like, it kind of reminds you, it takes you back, and it makes you realize that things haven't changed, at all, really. We're still struggling and battling these Eurocentric beauty standards, and we're still fighting systemic racism every single day. And you see it being manifested and displayed within the schools, and just the way how even children interact with each other. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's definitely something that a lot of people don't realize. Like, I'm pretty sure like the girl who told you that, she might not even realized it, but like she should have. Like that's something that's sort of important, and from a young age, it's sort of hard to learn to understand and deal with whatever it is that you're doing. So I guess on that note, how do you think you learn to empower yourself? Did somebody teach you? Is there someone in your life who really had an impact on teaching you the importance of empowerment, or like how did you empower yourself?
So the family which I grew up in, my family's fairly loving, but I have to take into account that they're immigrants. So they came to this country from Liberia, and they came to America fleeing a war. So all they knew were kind of survival tactics, how to survive. So getting a job. If there's any issues, like don't get into confrontation. Just kind of let it be, brush it off, and continue going. So that's just like what I kind of grew up in. But being born in America is kind of different because my mom will always say, like, American kids are kind of different, and we're very emotional. And I think for me, I'm a very sensitive and emotional person, but I'm thankful for that because I'm able to express my emotion. And going through these things, it was kind of hard to communicate how I felt to people who didn't really understand because they didn't pay mind to what other people said. But as a child, you're consuming all these different things, and it's like you have to pay attention to what people are saying because you're a kid. You don't really know. People don't really. I always say you don't really know what your insecurity is until people point it out to you. So I didn't know that I had big lips until people started to make fun of me for it. So it's, as a child, you're very you pay attention to little things like that. And so how I learned to empower myself was honestly to fake it. A lot of people will tell me, like, wow, like, you're so confident. And it's like, confidence is something that you can fake, but self-love is something that you have to learn to give yourself. And every single day I'm learning to love myself. Every single day, every time I wake up in the morning, even me wearing my natural hair outside is a statement to myself that, like, it is beautiful. But it's the confidence that I'm faking because I'm scared. Like, I would have times where I would go to work and I'm having anxiety because I went to my job and they saw me with a long weave or wig on, and then I would come back the next day with my natural hair and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what are they going to think of me? And it's that anxiety, but I have to fake that confidence because at the end of the day, the goal is to love myself inside and out. That's my goal, and that cannot be compromised. And that's why I continue to model. That's why I continue to put myself out there, because at the end of the day, like, whatever people say about me, it doesn't really matter. But when you constantly see my face on different publications, you're going to learn to appreciate look like me. And I want to show young girls, my nieces, and young Black boys that, it's okay to have the features you have. It's okay to look the way you look, because I was able to love myself, and there's nothing wrong with the way you look. Don't pay attention to what people say. This world was not catered to you. This, the United States was not made for us, but just know that we're going to make room. We're going to continue to make space and continue to make space for ourselves and for the next generation. So that's how I continue to empower myself, just looking forward and pushing myself, because, you can push you. You're the only person that can push you. Confidence, people I think sometimes people kind of like lie about it, like, oh, I've been confident. No, you haven't been confident your entire life. You had to fake it. It's okay to say that. And I can definitely say that I learned to fake it, that fake it till you make it. And every single day I'm faking it till I make it. And I can honestly say that I've become more confident because I'm faking it. And my ultimate goal is to love myself in my totality, because I deserve that, and every Black child, every trans Black woman and men deserve to be loved and to feel that love, because they are worthy of that.
Oh my God, that was so good. I mean, it's like often people don't ever, like, there's honestly like a little bit of confusion about faking it and whether that's actually an indication of real progress. But I feel like it's very, very true what you said about how actually, like, that it's honestly positivity, if anything. Like, faking it is you deciding, like, I can get to a stage where I can improve my confidence. So it's like, it's amazing how you're saying that it is something that works. It's something that really you do, that tells you that you need to learn how to love yourself. And that's such good advice for girls who are trying to empower themselves.
Definitely. Yeah. Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. Like, I always say this, if I can do it, literally anyone could do it. Because I did not even believe that I could model or do anything that I'm doing now, and I'm doing just that. And you just have to condition yourself, unlearn the things that people told you in the past, because I always tell people, when it's easy for people who are not on the receiving end to just go about their lives and forget about the hurt that they've caused people. But if you're on the receiving end, you have to heal and learn and reteach yourself those things. And it's painful. It's not a pretty process, but that's something we have to go through and we have to deal with to endure. So if I can, go through that and endure that and continue to heal, like anybody can do that. Anyone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a really, really powerful message. Thank you. So, why do you think you enjoy and appreciate being a woman and being who you are, I guess, on the note of self-love?
Because as a Black woman, I honestly, I'm gonna just really be blunt and say Black women are literally the blueprint of a lot of different things. And it's like, because my existence and who I am has always been attacked, I have to love myself. I have to. And there's I feel like every single day I learn and I see the beauty in me. And it's like, how can you not love a Black woman? How can you not love Black people? But I'm just going to gear this towards Black women specifically. How can you not love Black women? Like, just the way our hair, the texture of our hair, our skin, like just who we are as people, the things that we create, and the things that we do. Like, a lot of Black women were literally the on the forefront of the Black liberation movement. How can you not love Black women who are putting their body, souls, and their minds on the front lines to fight injustices? How can you not love and support us? Black women who are the most educated in the United States, how can you not love and support us? And I just remind myself of the beauty of a Black woman, because that is me. I am that. And for a long period of time, people have tried to deny us of that right. And it's like, how can you deny us of a right that we already have? But this is who we are. The beauty is something that we obtain just naturally, just by being ourselves. So yeah.
That was great. So I guess you talked about how for your confidence, you spent a lot of time, I guess you said that you just faked it. And over time you built that confidence, but how self-love takes more effort. It takes a really deep and, important way of looking at yourself and really accepting who you are and loving yourself. So do you have any advice for how people can learn to love themselves and what kind of efforts they could take to do that the way that you did?
So it took a lot of combating, all the negative things that, were said to me. I think my religion, I'm Christian. I think that kind of helped me a lot. I'm not going to say kind of, it did help me a lot. Even if you're not a religious person, I know a lot of people use positive affirmations to kind of address things. And I think addressing the issue, like when you think those negative thoughts, because, instead of repressing them, acknowledge them and say, like, why am I thinking this about myself? Like, why is this something that I believe is true? Like, who told me this? Who said this? Who said that this is true about me? Because this is not true about me. Like, denying that and like acknowledging the fact that that cannot be true, because I am beautiful. I just learned in a therapy session just yesterday about tapping, and I thought it was amazing. And basically, it's kind of like you're tapping positive affirmations into yourself, and and it's a form of like a coping mechanism for people who endure stress and trauma and things like that, and anxiety. And I think it will also definitely help for people to also acknowledge the issues they're dealing with internally. And I think for me, it was just more so like using different scriptures to kind of like combat different things I was going through. Like, that's not who I am. Or like looking in the mirror, like, okay, like at the end of the day, like this is who I am, and I have to be comfortable with myself because I'm beautiful. Like, just constantly pouring that beauty back into myself that I felt like kind of spilled out, like reclaiming that beauty for myself. And I think also looking at other people that I like see as role models. So like, be it my mom or be it Lupita Nyong'o, I think is an amazing and beautiful woman. Just looking at her, because I think there's always a misconception that, you know, dark-skinned women can't be feminine, but Lupita Nyong'o was the most feminine person. I like, so poised and elegant and so amazing. And seeing her was like, wow, like I do have femininity. I am poised. I am elegant. I am beautiful. And seeing that representation is amazing. It's so important. So I would definitely say incorporating tapping, incorporating your religion, even if you're not a religious person or a spiritual person, just pouring into yourself and speaking positive affirmations into yourself, addressing the issues that, you know, you're dealing with, and kind of, you know, negating all the negativity that people have said to you and pouring in positivity, and surrounding yourself with people who love you and will show you the beauty that you are. That's really important.
Oh my God, I love that. That is actually really helpful. I feel like we don't spend a lot of time telling ourselves positive things. It's usually a constant self-blaming or self-critical, like a very self-critical mindset about thinking about what we did wrong rather than what we are always doing right. And I feel like those affirmations are really important. So yeah. Okay, so obviously you've achieved a lot over time with empowering yourself and becoming a model and founding your various organizations. So what would you say is your proudest accomplishment?
I would say my proudest accomplishment is, as of right now, it's Sending Her Essentials. Sending Her Essentials is literally a testimony to how like faithful God is, and how any idea, any dream that you have, anything that you're passionate about, like once you pray about it and once you literally surround yourself with people who will push you, it can come into fruition. And I definitely believe that my best friend and I literally saw a need and we wanted to help people, and that's what we're doing. We're just two girls in college that were passionate about period poverty, passionate about dismantling the stigma around the period, just passionate about womanhood and just us. And we wanted to advocate for women and like period poverty and help dismantle that, because we know that period poverty is not something that's just only in third world countries. It's also happening in the United States. You know, we realize that like, dang, I'm on campus and I'm broke and I can't pay to get, you know, pads or a tampon, or, you know, what if I'm in class and I get my period and I go to the bathroom and these machines are outdated? I don't have coins or anything like that to put in the machines. I only have my phone, and nowadays everything is digital. So if I don't have my card or my Apple Pay on my phone, what am I going to do? So it's little things like that that really made us like, that pushed us. And when we entered different pitch competitions and actually won, it was kind of a confirmation that what we're doing is in our purpose, it's in our calling. And even now, like seeing, it's still a grassroots organization, still a small organization, it's a budding nonprofit, but seeing how far we've come over the past year is so, I'm really grateful, and it's overwhelming to see like just how it's flourished. And I really pray that like we end up extending and helping girls all around the world, because our goal is to be a national and global organization. And I really believe that we can do that. I definitely believe that.
That's beautiful. So can you tell me what you've been working on for the past few months? What was your goal when you started the organization? What has that become now?
Mm-hmm. So we first started the organization, and it was honestly like a metro management drive that we had on our campus, and it was something really small, but we ended up receiving a lot of donations, and we partnered with the Lenox Hill neighboring house homeless shelter in New York, and we were able to supply sanitary products as well as mental management products, clothes, and just different things. And then after that, we entered a pitch competition. We entered the Big East competition. We ended up doing it really well. So we ended up incorporating our nonprofit and earning our 501c3 status. So after that, we've been kind of planning for our She Kits, and to kind of send She Kits, which is a mental management kit, abroad and also to distribute them here in the US. Because of, the pandemic that's been going on, we were planning a wellness event that would take place in New York, but because of that, we kind of had to transition to something that's digital. So recently we had our first digital event in partnership with the Healing Space in Africans in Conversation, and it's called the Healing Space, and it's a basically a platform or a space that we had kind of curated to allow Black people to kind of speak about the issues that are going on with a therapist and a mental health counselor. So we had our last session yesterday, and we're having another one on Thursday. So we're going to be tackling different conversations like depression, anxiety, and different ways to cope. So that's kind of like what we've been working on so far, and we're kind of trying to establish relationships with other like-minded organizations and form partnerships to kind of fund our next upcoming event. So that's kind of like what we've been doing so far.
That's fantastic. So Sending Her Essentials is really about all essentials. So it's like not just menstrual products, but also about mental health services and the opportunity to meet with therapists and how to improve your overall well-being. So what exactly has been in these kits that you've been trying to send out?
So right now we haven't sent out any kits yet, but we've been designing the kits. So it would. Right now, we're kind of discussing making it seasonal. So having all the products in the kits be from Black-owned businesses where, you would have a Black-owned menstrual cup and like a pamphlet to educate, people on like what the menstrual cup is and things like that. We're trying to be very intentional with the products we're sending abroad because there are a lot of different cultural connotations with different products. So we're not sending a menstrual cup. You could send like a cloth pad, something that's something that's reusable, that won't that's sustainable, that won't hurt the earth, because we are like advocates on eco-friendly, biodegradable products that will not hurt the planet because sustainability is also part of a Black liberation movement because we are impacted and we want to be mindful of that. So just different holistic beneficial things, as well as educational resources because we are big advocates on educating as well as giving girls trades that they can use in order to progress their lives because we do know that, some girls in different countries, giving a girl a pad or a cup or different menstrual management products is not going to end period poverty. It's not going to help the literacy rate within these different countries. So supplying them with a trade or a skill that they can use to advance their own lives and to help put money or food on the table for their families is also very beneficial. So just to include something like that in the kits, but also hopefully, God willing, we'll be able to go to these countries and actually meet and see the faces of the people we really want to impact. So
that's absolutely lovely. Okay. So there is so much thought and, intention that's being put into all of this. And I feel like that in of itself is such a lesson for people as they try to go forward in trying to impact the world in various ways. Okay, great. So, one thing that we didn't really get to touch on a lot about was, so you said that your religion has really impacted you a lot and how it's given you a lot of strength that you kind of required to move forward and accomplish whatever it is. Is there anything specific or really impactful that you think religion has given you or some experience that you want to share?
I think it's so easy to kind of define yourself by the ways of the world and what the world says about you. And so, I'm not going to act like I'm like the most Christian person because I'm not, but I try to, incorporate my religion and remind myself of like who I am, which is a child of God every single day. And, it's so easy to fall victim to all the things that are going on in the world, what people say about you, defining yourself by different things. Right now we're going through two pandemics, the pandemic of, Black people being killed and also COVID-19. And COVID-19 destroyed a lot of things for a lot of different people. And it hindered a lot of relationships. And the only relationship that I had to really like hold on to was my relationship with God because that's the only thing I had control over. And, I graduated, but my relationship with my school kind of ended because I didn't get to walk the stage, or my relationship with my friends kind of ended because I wasn't able to kind of see them or say goodbye. And it's like all of those things kind of like happen. And when you identify yourself with temporary things, it's like you fall short because they're not reliable. Whereas like God was the only being that's reliable to me. And there's a quote that I heard in my theology class, and it said like, why rely on yourself when yourself is unreliable? And when I heard that, I was like, wow. I was like, wow. Because oftentimes you rely on yourself, you rely on your own strength when it's like, you know, that's good, but just know that that's temporary and you need to recharge and you need to go back to the source to, you know, pour into you and recharge you. So that's why my religion has played a big role. And I'm learning all the time, you know. Like I said, I'm not the most Christian person. And I just take everything as a grain of salt. I try to read my Bible all the time. I'm not good with that, but I try, you know, I try to, you know, incorporate my faith in everything I do, especially in, you know, my organizations and activism work and community organizing, because I wanted people to know that, like, you know, who I am, and my religion is a part of who I am. Everything that I do, you know, God is at the forefront. And I want people to see that. I want people to know, you know, that's just who I am, you know? So.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you. Okay. So we covered a lot right so far, but is there anything specific that you'd like to share that's more about your own story, or any other questions that you have for us?
Anything that I would like to share? I think a really big part of my story and a really big part of my life is my battle with colorism. And I think it's not really discussed a lot within like within the Black community, because I think it's kind of like not just the Black community, but the diaspora, and even in South Asian countries, you know. And I think that it's kind of like not a taboo, but it's something that is really like in denial. Like, oh no, that's not what it is. We're not doing that. But I think it's something that we should discuss. I think there needs to be more discussion around that, and I feel like there needs to be a lot of more discussions about colorism being led by dark-skinned people. Because a lot of the conversation that I've been seeing, it's only been lighter skinned people discussing colorism and saying what it is. And I think that there's a huge misconception that people that bleach their skin to reach, you know, to be lighter, hate themselves. And I think that people need to realize that there are societies built on shade discrimination, and bleaching your skin can also be seen as a survival tactic because these people are trying to get jobs, they're trying to get married, they're trying to reach other opportunities that, you know, their darker skin could not, you know, reach. So I think that instead of blaming someone, saying you hate yourself because you bleach, understand the reason as to why and try to dismantle that, because we cannot discuss colorism, we cannot discuss racism and leave out colorism. And we cannot discuss colorism and leave out feature discrimination, because they're all tied together. So yeah, that's
So important. No, you're absolutely right. It's an issue that, like you said, spans across a variety of cultures. I think colorism is something that a lot of people deal with, and they don't completely understand the difference between colorism and racism too, which I think is also an issue. I think it's important to be able to distinguish the two. And what you explained about it being very interconnected with also just the standards that exist in society is very important for people to understand. So thank you so much for that. Do you think that colorism is something that you really were able to gain a lot more understanding of through your modeling career? Or do you think it's just something that you've spent time trying to understand during your activism?
I think both. I tried within modeling. I noticed that, you know, the people who would book the most gigs or the people who would get the most attention were, you know, they looked the same. They looked very similar. Like the Black girls that would get selected, I'll just say, looked very similar. They're all light skinned. and they had specific features that, you know, I'm not going to call them Eurocentric because they're Black women, but they did have smaller features, and a lighter skin complexion. And even, you know, within the Black liberation movement, the activists, the Black female activists that you would see being promoted are lighter skin. So, you know, those are just little things that you kind of notice, even perpetuated on the media. You know, the Black families that are being shown there's always, you know, a light-skinned mom with a dark-skinned father. And then, you know, the one time they do have a dark-skinned mom, she's swapped out. And we saw that with, you know, the Fresh Prince, you know. So it's something that you kind of, at a young age, you kind of take notice of and you kind of see. And I think that representation of like dark-skinned beauty was something that I had to kind of look for within the modeling industry, because there are amazing, beautiful, dark-skinned models in the industry. And I needed to seek that to reassure myself that it's okay. Like, I can, if they can do it, I can do it. So I do have days where I'm just like, dang, like, it must be nice, you know, I'm not going to lie. I do have days where I'm just like, dang, like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to book that because they're probably going to choose a lighter skinned girl or something, things like that. But it's just constantly like unlearning and reteaching yourself these things, because this is what society has taught you, but this is not what God is saying about you. This is not what love is saying about you. This is not what it is, you know? So just because society is telling you something doesn't mean that it's a law over your life. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So how do you think the international community can either make a change or help the groups that are sort of being discriminated against based on color or race, or just in general, people who are models, any group or community that you are part of? How do you think the international community can help that community or enrich that community in a legitimate way? And is there anything else you'd like to know or anything else that you'd like us to share with the global girlhood community?
I think that we're in a day and age where technology and everything is at your fingertips. And our Generation Z, we are tech savvy. We literally are able to bridge the gap using technology. It doesn't matter where you are at, and just amplifying the voices of the oppressed and marginalized people on different platforms using technology. It doesn't matter where you are. You can definitely do that. Interconnecting with different communities, educating yourself, and using any platform that you have to bring light to these issues that are being overlooked. You know, do that. Do not stay silent. Do not be a bystander. Use your platform, amplify the voices of the people who feel that they're not being heard, and the people who aren't being heard. You know, I acknowledge my privilege as a Black cis woman, you know, because I know that my Black trans sisters do not have that that luxury, that privilege. And so I amplify their voices using my platform. I speak about Black trans issues every chance that I get because I understand my privilege. And you don't have to, you know, go through their experience to acknowledge right from right and wrong from wrong. Amplify the voices of the oppressed, of marginalized people, in any way or shape or form you can. Continue to educate yourself. Continue to call out people who are, you know, being disrespectful or simply ignorant, in a loving way, of course. But yeah, just don't stop trying. Don't stop moving, because we need everyone. For things to change, we need everyone on deck. We need everyone to get on board. So don't stop trying. Keep on moving. And you don't have to be Black to amplify Black voices.
You're absolutely right. Oh my God, that's so good. Thank you so much.